Hello, and welcome to module number 6, note-taking. Step number 4 of the Big Six talks about use of information, and a big part of that is learning how to extract the information that you are looking for and that you are reading or watching documentaries to get or interviewing someone to find. It's absolutely crucial that you have a plan for how you extract that information in an organized manner. This will allow you to avoid plagiarism, academic malpractice, and will allow you to write a more cohesive and well-synthesized essay or create a final product. And so this is a template for notes that I have created. It's fairly simple. I believe that it works for all different kinds of projects, whether they be essays or slideshows or group projects or whatever they are. You are free to take this and you can adapt it in any way, add columns, anything that would help you actually take notes in an effective way. So the way this works is you have one note page for every source that you use. And so you can see up here, it asks you to indicate the title of the article or the book or whatever it is that your source is, if it's a person or a documentary. And then here, the author, the organization, or whatever is the creator of that source. So let me give you an example of how to fill that out. I always like to have just my general topic up here so that if I have multiple projects that I'm using to take notes, or I have taken notes on over the months or years, I can easily separate them by general topics. So let's say that I am doing some kind of a research project looking at the best way to manage academic anxiety. So that's my general topic. Every one of my note pages will have that same topic at the top, but each one will be different because each one will have a different title of an article or book or source, and then same for the author or organization. So before I start taking notes, I want to make sure that I fill out the note page appropriately. Let's say here's the source that I'm going to use for my notes. The topic or the title of the article is academic anxiety. So I will write that in here. And then this is actually from the Teen Health and Wellness database on the research page. And I happen to know that there is actually not one author given in the Teen Health and Wellness database. They're written by kind of the company and then they are actually reviewed by doctors. So in this case, there is not an actual author. So I am just going to put Teen Health and Wellness. Normally, if you use an EBSCO database or JSTOR database or any of the other databases, you will have an author name, but Teen Health and Wellness is slightly different because it doesn't give you the author's name. Here's an example of another note page. You can see here there's the author and the title of the article. Now, the next thing I want to fill out is just down here, I circle the type of resource, and this is just so that I can look back and make sure I have a variety, that I'm having a balanced diet of sources. I want to definitely have some articles from a database, such as EBSCO, JSTOR, etc. I want to find some articles from Google Scholar, potentially, depending on my topic. I want to have some Google websites, maybe some blogs or some websites from companies, organizations, and I may have some books as well. So this one is from Teen Health and Wellness, and it's a database article. So all I do is circle that. The next thing I need to do is label these 3 columns. You can approach this in different ways. For kind of a smaller project, if you know kind of what your main subtitles are or what your main categories of information will be for a project, you can put these in here, and then these 3 labels will stay the same for every project. And so let's say I've done some background reading, and I know that based on my main research topic, which is what is the best way to manage academic anxiety, and based on the articles that I've looked through and the websites that I've looked through, it seems like it makes sense to divide up my categories of information as follows. I want to have definition and causes of academic anxiety. I want to have effects of academic anxiety, and I'll just put ways to manage. So I will have all of my note pages, regardless of the article that I use or the source that I use, all of them will have the same 3 subtopics. And so the idea is when I'm reading my article, looking through my source, any information that addresses how to manage academic anxiety goes in here. Any information that is an effect, talks about the effects, goes in the middle. Definitions and causes goes on the left. It's very possible that one of my articles might not talk about ways to manage, and I might only have these 2. But the nice thing is that let's say I use 10 sources, and so I would complete 10 of these note pages. If I look through when I'm finished and I notice I've only got maybe 1 source that somewhat talks about this one, but I've got lots and lots about causes, definition, and effects, that shows me just visually that I need to find a few more sources that talk about ways to effectively manage academic anxiety. Okay, so this is another way you can use the note page, is to let you know what are your gaps. So let's go ahead and just take a look at how this works. When I have a source, I like to actually have my source printed out, and then I annotate it. And so you can see I've gone through and I've read my source first, and I've worked with it. And I challenge myself to only underline or highlight information kind of in factoids or in keywords. So I just have distressed, fearful, stressed out, result of school pressures, academic anxiety. I try not to highlight whole passages, because if you highlight whole passages, then you just have to go back and reread. But if you only highlight important keywords, these keywords become the notes that you actually put into your note pages. And then I actually can label. I usually label with a couple of words on the side, so that if I don't actually take notes for another week or so, I can pull this article out and I already can look and see, based on the keywords, what buckets these different facts would go into on my note page. You don't have to do annotation this way. You can also use various Chrome apps and extensions. There's different website tools that you can use where you can actually do online annotations like that. And so you can always ask me about those. But this is the system that I use. Once I've done that and I've gone through my article, then I'm ready to actually start putting in notes in here. And so the benefit of pre-reading and doing this pre-annotation is that I can actually skip entire sections that I already know aren't going to be helpful for me. If I didn't do that and I just started taking notes, I might think I have to take notes on every single part of this article. Well, I've already read this, and this entire first paragraph is really just kind of their lead-in, talking about what is academic anxiety kind of really generically. I can totally skip that entire paragraph. So now we get into the meat of it. The feeling of being distressed, fearful, or stressed out as a result of school pressures is academic anxiety. And I've written here, this is a definition. So I know that this goes in the definition. And I always separate my notes with bullet points. And you'll see why once I get more. So I can write feeling distressed, afraid, stressed by school. And now when I write my notes in here, I make a point to try to put the little idea in my own words. If you think of what the fact is, and then think, how would I just explain this to a younger brother or sister? What would you say? And so I try to just use my own words. If I do this, then the chances of me plagiarizing later are almost nil, because I'm not using any of the author's words. Okay, so then I go on. Most often experienced during timed exercises and situations in which students are expected to perform their best when the stakes are high, such as the SATs. So I'll say timed tests. We'll say high stakes tests, etc. And you notice I am not using complete sentences. So that's the other tip. No complete sentences, put it in your own words. Chances of plagiarism, 0. All right, mild momentary jitters to a serious disorder of overwhelming panic where you have difficulty functioning normally. And so these ideas then go into effects. So this is describing what happens to somebody. So I can say it's a range from, I'd say some nervousness all the way to panic, can't function. And I use a lot of symbols, and over the years I've developed my own little shorthand language that only I can understand, and that's totally perfect. That's fine. Doesn't matter if anybody else can read my notes. This is all for me, and it saves me time if I take notes with my own shorthand. So then I would just continue. And so you can see, since I've taken the time to do the annotations, when I'm doing my notes, I don't even have to think about it. I've already decided by my underlines what is important and what is not. And so I can just kind of go down, I skip down to the next thing I've underlined. So different reactions to academic pressures. Normal feelings of stress can actually make them perform better. All right, so this is talking about healthy stress. Once again, and effects. So I'll say can be positive. That's my symbol for positive. Such as do better on tests, etc. When a person, and then it says here, it talks about the biological reasoning behind that. So when a person feels stressed, the amygdala, an almond-shaped part of the brain that controls fear and aggression. And so this is where you also decide for yourself, what do I need, what do I don't need. Maybe somebody else would want to have this whole thing where it's describing the shape of the brain and exactly what it does. Maybe I already assume that that's common knowledge to my readers. So maybe I don't need to include that. So I'll say the amygdala sends the signal to the body to release epinephrine or adrenaline, which makes the heart beat faster and blood flow quicker to the internal organs. So how would I say that in a nutshell? Again, so I'll say in stress, amygdala sends signal to release epinephrine or adrenaline. So I'll say makes heartbeat faster, blood flow increase. So that's my little way of kind of rephrasing that in my own words, but without using a complete sentence. And so also no complete sentences because there's just not room in here. If you try to transcribe everything, then you just will not be very successful. So this is all that I would do. It does take time. That's the thing, and that's what I think trips people up. Taking the time to actually extract the information and organize it in a way like this. And maybe your way is note cards, or maybe it's something else, but I really feel like it's important to at least experience taking notes by hand, because research has shown that students who actually take notes by hand, and they've done this in academic lectures, versus students who take notes on a computer keyboard, the students who actually write by hand, they understand and recall the information a lot better because you've had to take a second, think about it in your mind and rephrase it and write it. The actual physical act of writing does something in your brain to help you process the information better. And so if you actually take your notes in this fashion, then chances are that you will have a much stronger and more well-researched and more well-proven thesis. And then also, let's say I've done 10 sources and I've got 10 of these. I can just lay them out just like this. So I've got more. And when I actually go to start planning my paper or my project, I can look and see all of my definition cause information is in the left column, all of my effects information is in the middle column, and all of my ways to manage information is in the right column. So no more just big blank Google Docs with just chunks of text about, all different kinds of categories of information. Here it's all nicely categorized. You've put it in your own words, and so you will definitely create a much stronger final product. So just a few things to remember about using the notes pages. We'll say use bullet points. It really helps. Say no complete sentences. And use your own words. Okay? And then finally, one note page per source. And that way, it's also easy to find out and remember where you got a piece of information from. So if you find a piece of information in your notes pages and you want to remind yourself, where did I get that again? You've got it right there. So if I say, oh, where did I get that information about epinephrine? Oh yeah, it was from Academic Anxiety from Teen Health. Boom, easy, okay? So that's it. The blank note pages are available on the HSMC research page, so you can always download those. You can adapt them in any way, as I said, but I really encourage you to practice this and see how it can help you out when you're doing research. Thanks for watching. This is the question portion for video module 6, note taking. If you haven't already, go ahead and open up the Google assessment form located below video module number 6. Question 4. If you use 5 sources for a research project, how many notes pages will you need? If you use 5 sources for a research project, how many notes pages will you need, according to Mrs. Jewell's note-taking method described earlier in this video? Pause the video here and answer question 4. Question 5. Click the link in question 5 to open the article you will be using for the next few questions. What is the article's title and author? So click the link in question 5 on the Google form to open the article. And then in the answer box for question 5, what is the title and author of the article? When you click the link, this is the article that will come up. So in the answer box, you will include the title and the author of this article. And an example of what that will look like is right here. So let's say the article title is How ISM Addresses Academic Anxiety, and the author is Bill Brown. This is what I include in the answer box for question 5. Pause the video and answer question 5. Question 6. Skim through this article. What 3 subtopics can you identify from this article? These will eventually become the 3 columns for your notes page. So once again, skim through the article and come up with 3 broad categories of information that appears in the article. These then will become your subtopics in the 3 columns on your notes page. So an example from the fictional article that I had in my previous example of the article called How ISM Manages Student Academic Anxiety. Let's say I look through that, and the 3 broad types of information discussed in the article are IB stress, social stress, and then ISM programs and activities that help stress. So you will do this for the article that you just opened. Pause the video and answer question 6. Question 7 has 3 parts. Part 1, click the link in question 7 to open a blank notes page. Print out the page. Label the page using a pen or pencil with title, author, and the 3 subtopics that you identified in question 6. So click the link in question 7 to open the blank notes page. Print it out and then actually label it with title, author, and the 3 subtopics that you just identified in question 6. When you click on the link, this will come up. So print it out and then actually include what would a kind of a general topic be that you might be doing a research project on, and then the title, the author. You can skip this down here because I actually provided the source for you, so you didn't find it yourself and may not actually know if this is a database article, Google Scholar, Google, or book. And then pause the video and complete part 1. Part 2, complete the notes page by taking notes on the article that you used in question 5 or 6. So complete this notes page thoroughly by taking notes on the article from question 5 or 6. Don't be lazy. Consider underlining or annotating the article first. So like in the demonstration that I did, I actually underlined and annotated the article, which only took, 5 or 10 minutes, and then that allowed me, when I took notes, to just skip my eyes to the different factoids and keywords and phrases that I had underlined and annotated already. So this is your chance to practice the skill, which will definitely be beneficial to you later on. A few tips to remember when filling out your notes page: use bullet points to separate your facts. No complete sentences. This will avoid plagiarism, plus there's no room for complete sentences. And finally, use your own words. This will allow you to process the information better and again will help you avoid plagiarism. You can always use direct quotes, of course, so if there's something in an article that you want to use, you can either transcribe it directly in quotation marks on your notes page, or you can, if you've printed out the article, circle something like a direct quote in the article that you want to use, and then just make a notation on your notes page that there is a direct quote that you would like to use in that article. And pause the video and complete part 2. And then when you're ready, part 3. Now, take a photo of your completed notes page. Upload the photo to your Google Drive. Change the sharing settings on your photo to public or anyone with the link can view. And then paste the link to your photo into the answer box. So once again, you or a friend use your phone to take a photo of your notes page. And then upload that to your Google Drive. Share the photo. First, change the settings to be public or anyone with a link can view. Don't just share it with me, Mrs. Duell, because I may not be the person who's actually looking at your assessment. And then paste the link to your photo into the answer box. I've been assured by the tech people that everyone should know how to do this by now. If you don't know how to do this, ask a friend, or you can come and see me or any of the tech people. And then this is what you should have pasted into question 7. Simply a link. And so then if I clicked on that link, I would see something like this. This is a cell phone picture of a completed notes page. You'll notice it's all completely labeled with the author, organization, and then the title. I've got, and also make sure to label your subtopics. So these would be those 3 broad categories of information. Label those. And then just look, I've got bullet points, no complete sentences, just factoids. It's all in my own words. I use a ton of symbols and stuff that probably nobody else understands but me. But I was thorough, and this is going to help me when I go and actually start to put my paper together. Pause the video and complete part 3 of question 7. Question 8. Click the link in question 8 to open an article about longhand note-taking. In a sentence or two, summarize the main idea of this article. So click the link in question 8 and read an article about longhand note-taking. In a sentence or two, summarize the main idea of this article. What is it saying? This is the article. It's pretty short. Just a brief couple of sentences summary of what the main idea is. Pause the video, complete question 8. And then question number 9, final question here in the video. Describe your note-taking process. So just reflect on what you do. And I mean for both individual research papers, research projects, and or for lectures if you're in class and your teacher's lecturing and you're supposed to take notes. Do you take notes, first of all? If so, do you use a computer? Do you use paper? If you use a computer, do you use a Google Doc? Do you copy and paste? Do you actually type your own words? Do you use bullet points? And then do you have a system of organization in any way, shape, or form? Do you tag things? Do you have folders? How do you organize your notes? This is just a question for you to reflect on. Write a couple of sentences about your own process. And then when you're finished with this, just answer that final question on the Google form and you will have completed video module 6. And then just one final note, try taking notes this way. Experiment in an upcoming assignment and see what changes. I guarantee that developing a note-taking system will help you now and in your future. And then my little formula for success is longhand plus organization equals success. I have longhand in parentheses because there is some argument. I think some teachers certainly feel that taking notes in a computer, if you've got it organized, is just as powerful and efficient and effective as longhand. I personally like longhand notes, and I really think especially when students are learning about note-taking, it's the best way. But certainly, whether your notes are longhand or electronic, you need to have some kind of organizational system. If you do those two things, you will have a lot of success, and I wish that for all of you.